gonna start a little bit earlier this time, and we're probably going to end a little bit earlier as well.
No!
So where we are is we're still in the creepy basement, trying to avoid Daniela. Really safe scumming a lot. Not that we need it, we're not dying a lot that much. Something is a little bit wrong with my with the sound for me. Let me see if I can deal with this really quick. Testing. Testing. So as far as I can tell, I think my headphones are finally starting to die. Yeah, I think it's time to order a new. I've been wanting a new. I've been wanting a new pair of headphones for a while, so I guess this is now as good a time as any. You can hear me, right? Now as good a time as any. You can hear me, right? I mean, I guess if I hear, like, if I can hear the sound, but I can barely hear it on my end, I mean, that's... I suppose it's fine? I'm gonna have to test if this is my, supposedly there's a cutscene here. Fiona, I would lock her in here. I heard the Clock Tower series is very similar to this game. I actually want to try it out. Well, she has a red hot fire poker now. Not sure how long it'll remain red hot, but I think the red hot fire poker is healthier than the pane of glass. Or the shard of glass she had. What's here? I don't know, why don't we ask Huey? You'd probably be able to sense what that is. anything here that I need?
Miss Fiona.
Oh my, what a filthy princess. Here's something from the castle. Thanks a lot. A perfume made from with the extracted essence of the hebel flower. It hardly has a discernible odor.
Come on.
Come on, she has to clean.
Huey. Huey. Come on.
Just leave her alone. It's cleaning time, so we're probably safe for the time being.
Huey.
Come on, I need your
Come on.
nose.
Huey.
Okay, so I assume I need... Judging by... So this machine used engraved letters onto these 3 plates. The only question, why build a machine for this sole purpose? What do the plates do? I think we've already figured that out. Judging by the fact that this hook is... Oh. Why does this perfume have no smell? Wait a second. Maybe the smell is undetectable to a human's nose, but Huey may be a different story. That big nose has to serve us some purpose, right, boy? I mean, this is really the only place that I can think of. Let's use that here.
Good boy.
Okay, I can tell you what a good boy you are. This is the only green area I know. So it's not here.
Huey.
The floor collapsed. Well, there's no point in going here. You know, there were some doors that led to absolutely nowhere. There's still absolutely nothing here. I believe my headphones might be dying. I've had these things since the mid-90s. Well, hello. actually might need it to... No. Okay, well, while it's on the other side. Oh, I'm sorry. Huey, you got in the way.
Come on. Good boy. Miss. Huey! Oh, Missy, oh, no.
Uh-oh. She left the door open. She's falling apart. Yes, Huey, I know she's still nearby. I'm not falling for that. Okay, I think it goes to somewhere. Come here.
Good boy.
Sorry for kicking you, you got in the way. I have something delicious for you. Okay, it looks like you're fine, so I can't feed this to you. save my game here.
Huey. Come on.
Stuffed chimera showing off its fierce skis. Why would anyone decorate a room with something this hideous?
Huey.
What's this? Sylvester Esca. Weeping Stone emits a loud noise distracting some enemies. An alchemic item created through an intense process of refining medallions. I wonder what this does.
Miss. Huey!
Probably lost her for the time being, but with her, who knows? Yep, see? I can hear her flopping around. She likes to pretend that she doesn't know how to run, but she can run. Stop giving me away, Huey. You've burned me many times telling me that the coast is clear, and it's make me to believe you every time. So the purpose of that was to get this flower, or to get this herbal scent.
Huey. Yui.
Oh, you know what? Because we weren't able to go here last time. Behind us, even though I know she's behind us. Now we can go here. So many of them. Let me explore in peace. Looks to be a mausoleum. There are words written here. Can't read them because this thing is after me. I'll try to read those words while this thing is here. Actually, I'm gonna try to trap it here. Huey, I need you to cooperate.
Come on. Come on.
There, it can hang out over there. Okay, now we can read those words in peace. Looks to be a mausoleum, words written here. Dead spirit craving for life, crawling back from the underworld, sip of the fresh flowing lifeblood. When your thirst is quenched, return to the darkness from whence you came.
Go!
Great. So while she's praying for us, or looking for us rather, it looks like she's starting to fall apart. Wanted to find me that time. Hello. That chair wasn't used for sitting, it was used for something more diabolical. Handle that winds up in a rope attached looks like it was used for stretching mechanism. God knows what they only used it on. I think I have a good idea. Restraints, a whip, and various surgical instruments. Dried blood covers all the sadistic props. guess you could hide in there. I don't know why you would want to. Is this a bird cage? It seems too large to be a cage for birds. Did it house the person? No. No one could fit inside. Owen burns an angry red. I'd rather not even think about what kind of things they burn using this oven, especially in this creepy place. Corpse. There are traces that suggest this person was heavily tortured. There's something hanging around its neck. Sure, let's take it. It's gonna get up, isn't it? Well, it's a key and we need it. Tool used to torture innocent victims. Tiny letters are engraved. Fire is essentially composed of hotness and dryness. Air differs only from fire in that it is formed of moistness. Earth and fire are, without a doubt, both in possession of dryness. What differs from air is the fact that it does not contain heat. So fire, hot and dry. Air, hot and moist. Earth and fire are dry. Water and air are moist. Water differs from air. It does not contain heat. So air is hot and moist, fire is hot and dry. Coolness is the component that separates fire from earth. Yeah, there's dryness that separates earth from water. And so, by linking these four elements together, as said, the fundamental carina aurina, or alchemic bond, is formed. That which binds flesh and spirit together for an infinitum. Hot and dryness form the element fire.
Come on. Come on.
Come on, I need you to stand on this.
Come on. Sit.
There, now I don't have to bother with this creepy thing anymore.
You.
We'll deal with that weird ass garden later. Oh, don't pick that up. It's gonna start screaming at you. Here, there's something written here. In order to procure the large quantity of blood required to complete the grand process, a fusion of plant and animal known as the Floranimalia was created. It was originally derived from the secret formula named the Mandragora. Yeah, it's the mandrake you just picked up that starts screaming. Multiple plant types were infused in an attempt to create the Mandragora, but only the combination of the herbals seemed to possess a similar liquid composition. In current research, our subjects are nearly identical to the real Mandragora. Flower color and an ever-so-faint difference in smell is the only way to tell apart that from the substitute. Caution must be exercised if the Mandragora is ever referred to as two powerful defense mechanisms. It emits a loud, ear-pierced, rupturing shriek and can also paralyze its attacker with poisonous leaves. If the situation becomes too dangerous, one should quickly throw away the Mandragora to get out of harm's way. Huey, I have a job for you. Full body flower sprout from the bed. Pull one out. Yes. Fortunately, I saved earlier. Well, she got what she wanted. I didn't realize I was in such bad shape. Can't remember what else I need to do. Oh. I didn't save after I did that weird puzzle. A little bit far out. At least now I know what to do. Back to that busted, bloody merry-go-round.
Come on.
Here already. Just in case I need to hide in there. Already seen this.
Help! Come on. Come on. Sit. Huey. Sit.
Just do it backwards.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Sit. Come on. Come on. Sit.
Okay, we'll watch this again because this was weird. I'm glad you can pause cutscenes and skip them in this game. That's pretty advanced. We're gonna see this is from modern games. it.
Come on. Huey.
I do need to be there right now. Read a history article today.
Huey.
About how disgusting things were in the Middle Ages and even for some time after, like all the way up to the 19th century. In castles where people would, like when there was a large amount of people over, they would just do their business wherever they felt like. And Fiona's gonna try to pick this up again because she's not very You don't need to hear this thing scream. Oh, and look, I feel much better. You need one that is kind of like blood. Well, supposedly he's not well trained, but otherwise known as Flora animalia, white flowers bloom from this synthetic plant. Its screams and its poisons are known for slowly driving a victim insane. Yeah, I knew you were gonna be there. persistent and I don't really have a good place to hide. I didn't mean to do that. Get past you, come on. What happened? Did it activate?
Good boy.
I pet my dog to calm my nerves. It's because of that mandrake. I need to get rid of it. Oh, this is where I was. That stupid garden. 9 for now, so maybe that'll give me a little bit of time. The garden. It was on the other side of the messed up merry-go-round. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and restore myself real quick. This is where it was. You get rid of this thing.
Huey.
Here, you can have this. It got what it wanted. It just wanted a snack. Corpse lies in an altar clutching a stone tablet in a death grip. The golem of sacrifice must be offered to the ever-burning wall of Hades that hinders your quest. Shepherd the beast to the land of Meth by etching your will into the string of letter-based commands. The primitive golem follows two commands. In the simple list of terms, they are the letter L to move the beast left and the letter right to move it right. The four-letter combination of will open the path to the small garden. Great, now I have to go back there. It's activated. Let's try this. Oh, it worked. I was about to say. Try this. Actually, no, that's not what I meant. Right, right. See if this works. Actually, it might work. Right. Right. Should turn left. One more. I thought what it would do is it would smack into a... walk forward until it smacks into a wall and then read its next command, but apparently it's smarter than that. Let's see what's here. Apparently nothing, it just runs into a wall.
Huey.
Go here yet. What? Seriously? Why? No. Right, right. Left. Right. Right. Okay. Right, right, left. Right, right. Hey buddy, I have one more job for you. Run! This is a lot more fun than it should be. I may actually call it not long from now. I'm not feeling too great. I'm kind of tired. I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule, but my body doesn't really like it when I change things around too much. So right is where I ultimately need to be. So yeah, that's where the last one crashed into the wall.
Huey.
Okay, Huey. Let's look at what junk we got. It has required a medium amount of brain power. What's this? Pick it up. It's the medallion. Here. Go down here, yes.
Huey. Come on.
Don't be silly. Wish there was a clock nearby so I could just explore a little bit. Smells like burnt meat. Dreadful odor indeed. They must be cooking an animal's carcass. Whew. Hey, Huey, do you like that smell? Is it what you like? Burnt carcass? Does it smell nice? Toasty? Golem's sacrifice must do blah blah blah. The RRRRR will open the path to the small garden. Let's really have a choice.
Huey. Huey.
Yeah, no. That boy's gonna jump on my head.
Come on.
I know he is. It's pretty impressive that he manages to keep those things alive. They tend to explode if you take them too far away from the high pressure areas in the ocean. It's pretty gruesome. Their lips and their gums burst. It's really painful. This is a good place to save. Okay, so update. I think my how old are they? They have to be at least. Let's see. When? I'm trying to remember. These headphones are probably 25 years old. I honestly didn't use them that heavily until I used them fairly frequently when I was younger. And then I kind of stopped around 2000, and then I rediscovered them and started using them again around 2010-ish, I want to say. So yeah, these things are pretty ancient, and I'm not surprised that they're going. I'm sad that they're going, but sometimes I found that if I leave electronics alone for a while, they seem to get back to normal. Speakers that I'm using with my computer now, were sitting in a bucket in my old room at my parents' house, and I just decided to connect them, figuring that if they were going to fail, they were just going to be recycled. But no, they seem to work fine, and you know, if they're working fine, that's all I really want from them. Well, let's see, how long is this? So yeah, in Titus Grown, the last thing that happened was that Steerpike is trying to light the library on fire so he can save, quote unquote, save the grown family, and implicates Cora and Clarice Grown in the attempted homicide. But I feel that that's not going to work out quite how he thinks it's going to work out. Let's find out. I'm so sad if these headphones are dying. They have, I mean, I was actually planning to refurbish them, but if the actual earpieces are failing, like the headpiece is failing, it doesn't have a head cushion. The wiring seems fine, the connector seems fine, I always took care of it. The headpieces are kind of falling off, the plastic is starting to crumble, but if the earpieces are going, then they're going. There's not much that can be done about that. Anyway, the grotto. It happened on the day of Steerpike's second daylight visit to the library. He was on his return journey, and he had reached the edge of the pine woods and was awaiting an opportunity to run unobserved across the open ground, when, away to his left, he saw a figure moving in the direction of Gormangast Mountain. The invigorating air, coupled with his recognition of the distant figure, prompted him to change his course, and with quick bird-like steps he moved rapidly along the edge of the wood. In the rough landscape to his left, the tiny figure in its crimson dress sang out against the somber background like a ruby on a slate. The midsummer sun, and how much less this autumn light, had no power to mitigate the dreary character of the region that surrounded Gormangast. It was like a continuation of the castle, rough and shadowy, and though vast and often windswept, oppressive too, with a kind of raw weight. Ahead lay Gormangast Mountain in all its permanence, a sinister thing as though drawn out of the earth by sorcery, as a curse on all those who viewed it. Although its base appeared to struggle from a blanket of trees within a few miles of the castle, it was in reality a day's journey on horseback. Clouds were generally to be seen clustering about its summit even on the finest days when the sky was elsewhere empty, and it was common to see the storms raging across its heights and the sheets of dark rain slanting mistily over the blurred crown and obscuring half the mountain's hideous body, while at the same time sunlight was playing across the landscape all about it, and even on its own lower slopes. Today, however, not a single cloud hung above the peak, and when Fuchsia had looked out of her bedroom after her midday meal, she had stared at the mountain and said, "Where are the clouds?" "What clouds?" said the old nurse, who was standing behind her, rocking Titus in her arms. "What is it, my caution?" "There's nearly always clouds on top of those mountains," said Fuchsia. "Aren't there any, dear?" "No," said Fuchsia. "Why aren't there?" Fuchsia realized that Slag knew virtually nothing, but the long custom of asking her questions was a hard one to break down. This realization that grown-ups did not necessarily know any more than children was something against she had fought. She wanted Mrs. Slag to remain the wise recipient of all her troubles and the comforter that she had always seemed, but Fuchsia was growing up, and she was now realizing how weak and ineffectual was her old guardian. Not that she was losing her loyalty or affection. She would have defended the wrinkled midget to her last breath if necessary, but she was isolated within herself, with no one to whom she could run with that unquestioning confidence, that outpouring of her newest enthusiasms, her sudden terrors, her projects, her stories. "I think I'll go out," she said, "for a walk." "Again?" said Miss Slag, stopping for a moment the rocking of her arms. "You go out such a lot now, don't you? Why are you always going away from me?" It's not from you," said Fuchsia. "It's because I want to walk and think. It isn't going away from you. You know it isn't." "I don't know anything," said Nanny Slag, her face puckered up. "But I know you never went out all the summer, did you, dear? And now that it is so tempersome and cold, you are always running out into the nastiness and getting wet or frozen every day." I gotta be honest, I don't really like it when it's super hot and humid. I prefer when it's cool. Maybe not downpouring, but when it's frosty, I like that. So I kind of understand Fuchsia. I actually really understand Fuchsia. Oh, my poor heart. Why? Why every day? Fuchsia pushed her hands into the depths of her big pockets of her red dress. It was true that she had deserted her attic for the dreary moors and the rocky tracts of country about Gormenghast. Why was this? Had she suddenly ungrowed her attic and that had once been all in all to her? Oh no, she had not ungrown it, but something had changed ever since that dreadful night when she saw Steerpike lying by the window in the darkness. It was no longer in the violate, secret, mysterious. It was no longer another world, but a part of the castle. Its magnetism had weakened, its silent, shadowy drama had died, and she could no longer bear to revisit it. When last she had ventured up the spiral stairs and entered the musty and familiar atmosphere, Fuchsia had experienced a pang of such sharp nostalgia for what had once been to her that she had turned away from the swaying motes that filled the air and the shadowy shapes of all that she had known as her friends. The cobwebbed organ, the crazy avenue of 100 loves, turned away and stumbled down the dark staircase with a sense of such desolation as seemed would never lift. Her eyes grew dim as she remembered these things, her hands clenched in her deep pockets. Yes, she said, I have been outlawed. Do you get lonely? If you do, you needn't, because you know I love you, don't you? You know that, don't you? She thrust her lower lip forward and frowned at Miss Slag, but this was only to keep her tears back, for nowadays Fuchsia had so lonely a feeling that tears were never far distant. Never having had another positive cruelty or kindness shown to her by her parents, but only an indifference. She was not conscious of what it was that she missed. Affection. It had always been so, and she had compensated herself by weaving stories of her own future, or by lavishing her own love upon such objects things as the objects in her attics, or more recently upon what she found or saw among the woods and the wastelands. You know that, don't you? Fuchsia repeated. Nanny rocked Titus more vigorously than was necessary, and by the pursing of her lips indicated that his lordship was asleep, and she was speaking too loudly. Then Fuchsia came up to the old nurse and stared at her brother. The feeling of aversion for him had disappeared, and though as yet the lilac-eyed creature had not affected her with any sensation of sisterly love, nevertheless she had got used to his presence in the castle and would sometimes play with him solemnly for half an hour or so at a time. Nanny's eyes followed Fuchsia's. His little lordship, she said, wagging her head. It's his little lordship. Why do you love him? Why do I love him? Oh dear, poor weak heart. Why do I love him, stupid? How could you say such a thing? Cried Nanny Slag. Oh, my little lordship thing. How could I help it? The innocent notion that he is. The very next of Gormenghast, aren't you, my only? The very next of all. What did your cruel sister say, then? What did she say? He must go to his cot now, for his sleep, he must, and to dream his golden dreams. Did you talk to me like that when I was a baby? Asked Fuchsia. Of course I did, said Miss Slag. Don't be silly. Oh, the ignorance of you. Are you going to tidy your room for me now? She hobbled to the door with her precious bundle. Every day she asked the same question, but never waited for an answer, knowing whatever it was she who would have to make some sort of order out of the chaos. Fuchsia again turned to the window and stared at the mountain, whose shape down to the last outcrop had long since scored its outline in her mind. Between the castle and Gormenghast Mountain the land was desolate, for the main part empty wasteland, with large areas of swamp were undisturbed among the reedy tracts the waders moved. Curlews and peewits sent their thin cries along the wind. Morans reared their young and paddled blackly in and out of the rushes. To the east of Gormenghast Mountain, but detached from the trees at its base, spread the undulating darkness of the twisted woods. To the west, the unkempt acres, broken here and there with low stunted trees bent by the winds into the shape of hunchbacks. Between the dreary province and the pine wood that had surrounded the west wing of the castle, a dark shelving plateau rose to a height of about 100 and 200 feet. and the regular tableland of greeny black rock, broken and scarred and empty. It was beyond these cold escarpments that the river wound its way about the base of the mountain and fed the swamps where the wild fowl lived. Fuchsia could see 3 short stretches of the river from her window. This afternoon, the central portion of that to its right were black with the reflection of the mountain, and the third, away to the west beyond the rocky plateau, was a shadowy white strip that neither glanced nor sparkled, but, mirroring the opaque sky, lay lifeless and inert, like a dead arm. Fuchsia left the window abruptly and, closing the door after her with a crash, ran all the way down the stairs, almost falling as she slipped clumsily on the last flight, before threading a maze of corridors to emerge panting in the chilly sunlight. Breathing in the sharp air, she gulped and clenched her hands together until her nails bit at her palms. She had begun to walk. She had been walking for over an hour when she heard footsteps behind her and, turning, saw a steer pike. She had not seen him since the night at the prune squalmers, and never as clearly as now, as she approached her through the naked autumn. He stopped when he noticed that he was observed and called, "Lady Fuchsia, may I join you?" Behind him, she saw something which, by contrast with the alien, incalculable figure before her, was close and real. It was something which she understood, something which she could never do without or be without, for it seemed as though it were her own self, her own body, at which she gazed, and which lay so intimately upon the skyline. Gormenghast, the long notched outline of her home. It was now his background. It was a screen of walls and towers pocked with windows. He stood against it, an intruder, imposing himself so vividly, so solemnly against her world. His head overtopped the loftiest of its towers. "What do you want?" she said. A breeze lifted from beyond the twisted woods, and her dress was blown across her so that down her right side it clung to her, showing the strength of her young body and thighs. "Lady Fuchsia," shouted Steerpike across the strengthening wind. "I'll tell you." He took a few quick paces towards her and reached the sloping rock on which she stood. "I want you to explain this region to me. The marshes and Gormenghast Mountain. Nobody has ever told me about it. You know the country, you understand it." He filled his lungs again. "And though I love the district, I'm very ignorant." He had almost reached her. "Can I share your walks occasionally? Would you consider the idea? Are you returning?" Fuchsia had moved away. "If so, may I accompany you back?" "That's not what you've come to ask me," said Fuchsia slowly. She was beginning to shake in the cold wind. "Yes, it is," said Steerpike. "It is what I have come to ask you, and whether you will tell me about nature." "I don't know anything about nature," said Fuchsia, beginning to walk down the slopey rock. "I don't understand it, I only look at it. Who told you I knew about it? Who makes up these things?" "No one," said Steerpike. "I thought you must know and understand what you love so much. I've seen you very often returning to the castle laden with the things you have discovered, and also you look as though you understand." "I do?" said Fuchsia, surprised. "No, I can't do. I don't understand wise things at all." "Your knowledge is intuitive," said the youth. "You have no need of book learning and such like. You only have to gaze at a thing to know it. The wind is getting stronger, your ladyship, and colder. We had better return." Steerpike turned up his high collar, and gaining her permission to accompany her back to the castle, he began with her the descent of the grey rocks. Before they were halfway down, the rain was falling, and the autumn sunlight had given way to a fast tattered sky. "Tread carefully, Lady Fuchsia," said Steerpike suddenly, and Fuchsia stopped and stared quickly over her shoulder at him as though she had forgotten he was there. She opened her mouth as though to speak when a far rattle of thunder reverberated among the rocks, and she turned her head to the sky. A black cloud was approaching from its pendulous body, and the rain fell in a mass of darkness. Soon it would be above them, and Fuchsia's thoughts leapt backwards through the years to a certain afternoon when, as today, she had been caught in a sudden rainstorm. She had been with her mother one of those rare occasions, still rarer now, when the Countess, for some reason or other, decided to take her daughter for a walk. Those occasional outings had been silent affairs, and Fuchsia could remember how she had longed to be free of the presence that had moved at her side and above her, and yet she recalled how she had envied her huge mother when the wild birds came to her at her long, shrill whistle and settled upon her head and arms and shoulders. But what she chiefly remembered was how, on that day, when the storm broke above them, her mother, instead of turning back to the castle, continued onwards towards these same layers of dark rock, which she and Steerpike were now descending. Her mother had turned down the rough, narrow gully and had disappeared behind the high slab of dislodged stone that was leaning against a face of rock. Fuchsia had followed, but instead of finding her mother sheltered from the downpour against the cliff behind the slab, to her surprise she found herself confronted with the entrance to a grotto. She had peered inside, and there, deep within the chilly throat, was her mother sitting on the ground and leaning against the sloping wall, very still and silent and enormous. She had waited there until the storm had tired of its own anger, and the slow rain descended like a remorse from the sky. No word had passed between them, and Fuchsia, as she remembered the grotto, felt a shiver run through her body. But she turned to Steerpike. "Follow me if you want to," she said. "I know a cave." The rain was by now thronging across the escarpment, and she began to run over the slippery gray rock faces with Steerpike at her heels. As she began the short, steep descent, she turned for an instant to see whether Steerpike had kept pace with her. And as she turned, her feet slipped away from under her on the slippery face of an oblique slab, and she came crashing to the ground, striking the side of her face, her shoulders, and shin with a force that for the moment stunned her. But only for a moment. As she made an effort to rise, she felt the pain growing at her cheekbone. Steerpike was beside her. He had been some 12 yards away as she fell, but he slithered like a snake among the rocks and was kneeling beside her almost immediately. He saw at once that the wound upon her face was superficial. He felt her shoulder and shin bone with his thin fingers and found them sound. He removed his cape, covered her, and glanced down the gully. The rain swam over the face and thrashed on the rocks. At the base of the steep decline, he could see, looming vaguely through the downpour, a huge propped rock, and he guessed that it was towards this that Fuchsia had been running, for the gully ended within 40 feet in that high and unscalable wall of granite. Fuchsia was trying to sit up, but the pain in her shoulder had drained her of strength. "Lie still!" shouted Steerpike through the screen of rain that had divided them, as he pointed to the propped rock. "Is that where we are going?" he asked. "There's a cave behind it," she whispered. "Help me up. I can get there all right." "Oh no," said Steerpike. He knelt down beside her and then with great care lifted her inch by inch from the rocks. His wiry muscles toughened in his slim arms along his spine, as by degrees he raised her to the level of his chest, getting to his feet as he did so. Then, step by tentative step over the splashing boulders, he approached the cave. 100 rain-thrashed pools had collected among the rocks. Fuchsia had made no remonstrance, knowing that she could never have made this difficult descent, but as she felt his arms around her, in the proximity of his body, something deep within her tried to hide itself. Through the thick, tousled strands of her drenched hair, she could see his sharp, pale, crafty face, his powerful, dark red eyes focused on the rocks below them, and the high, protruding forehead, his cheekbones glistening, with his mouth an emotional and motionless line. This was Steerpike. He was holding her. She was in his arms, in his power. His hard arms and fingers were taking the weight at her thighs and shoulders. She could feel his muscles like bars of metal. This was a figure whom she had found in her attic, and who had climbed up the sheer and enormous wall. He had said that he had found a stone skyfield. He had said that she understood nature. He wanted to learn from her. How could he, with his wonderful long sentences, learn anything from her? She must be careful. He was clever, but there was nothing wrong in being clever. Dr. Prune was clever, and she liked him. She wished she was clever herself. He was edging between the wall of rock and the slanting slab, and suddenly they were in the dim light of the grotto. The floor was dry, and the thunder of the rain beyond the entrance seemed to come from another world. Steerpike lowered her carefully to the ground and propped her up against a flat, slanting portion of the wall. He then pulled off his shirt and began, after wringing as much moisture from it as he could, to tear it into long, narrow pieces. She watched him, fascinated in spite of the pain she was suffering. It was like watching someone from another world who was worked by another kind of machinery, by something smoother, colder, harder, swifter. Her heart rebelled against the bloodlessness of his precision, but she had begun to watch him with grudging admiration for a quality so alien to her own temperament. The grotto was about 15 feet in depth, the roof dripping to the earth, so that only in the first 9 feet of the entrance was it possible to stand upright. Close to the arching roof, areas of the rock face were broken and fretted into dim convulsions of stone, and a fanciful eye could, with a little difficulty, beguile any length of time by finding among the interwoven patterns an inexhaustible army of ghoulish or seraphic heads according to the temper of the moment. The recesses of the grotto were in deep darkness, but it was easy enough for Fuchsia and Steerpike to see each other in the dull light near the shielded entrance. Steerpike had torn his shirt into neat strips and had knelt down beside Fuchsia and bandaged her head and staunched the bleeding which, especially from her leg, where the injury was not so deep, was difficult to check. Her upper arm was less easy, and it was necessary for her to allow Steerpike to bare her shoulder before he could wash it clean. She watched him as he carefully dabbed the wound. The sudden pain and shock had changed to a raw aching that she bit her lip to stop her tears. In the half-light she saw her eyes smoldering in the shadowy whiteness of his face. Above the waist he was naked. What was it that made his shoulders look deformed? They were high, but they were sound, though, like the rest of his body, strangely taut and contracted. His chest was narrow and firm. He removed a swab of cloth from her shoulder slowly and peered to see whether the blood would continue to flow. "Keep still," he said. "Keep your arm as still as you can. How's the pain?" "I'm all right," said Fuchsia. "Don't be heroic," he said, sitting back on his heels. "We're not playing a game. I want to know exactly how much you're in pain, not whether you are brave or not. I know that already. Which hurts you the most?" "My leg," said Fuchsia. It makes me want to be ill, and I'm cold. Now you know." Their eyes met in the half-light. Steerpike straightened himself. "I'm going to leave you," he said. "Otherwise the claw will gnaw you to bits. I can't get you back to the castle alone. I'll fetch the prune and a stretcher. You'll be all right here. I'll go at once. We'll be back within half an hour. I can move when I want to." "Steerpike," said Fuchsia. He knelt down at once. "What is it?" he said, speaking very softly. "You've done quite a lot to help," she said. "Nothing much," he replied. His hand was close to hers. The silence which followed became ludicrous, and he got to his feet. Mustn't stay. He had sensed the beginning of something less frigid. He would leave things as they were. You'll be shaking like a leaf if I don't hurry. Keep absolutely still." He laid his coat over her and then walked a few paces to the opening. Fuchsia watched his hunched yet slender outline as he stood for a moment before plunging into the rain-swept gully. Then he had gone, and she remained quite still, as he had told her, and listened to the pounding of the rain. Steerpike's boast as to his fleetness was not an idle one. With incredible agility, he leapt from boulder to boulder until he had reached the head of the gully. From there, down the long slopes of the escarpment, he sped like a dervish. But he was not reckless. Every one of his steps was a calculated result of a decision that had taken a swifter speed than his feet could travel. At length the rocks were behind him, and the castle emerged through a dull blanket. His entrance into the prune squalor was dramatic. Irma, who had never before seen any male skin other than which had protruded beyond the collar and the cuffs, gave a piercing cry and fell into her brother's arms, only to recover at once, to dash from the room in a typhoon of black silk. Prune Squalor and Steerpike could hear the stair rods rattling as she whirred her way up the staircase, and the crashing of her bedroom door set the pictures swaying on the walls of all the downstairs rooms. Dr. Prune Squalor had circled around Steerpike with his head drawn back so that his cervical vertebra rested against the rear wall of his high collar, and the plumbless abysms yawned between his Adam's apple and his pearl stud. With his head brittled backwards thus, somewhat in the position of a cobra about to strike, and with his eyebrows raised quizzically, he was yet able at the same time to flash both tiers of his startling teeth, which caught and reflected in the lamplight with an unnatural brilliancy. He was in an ecstasy of astonishment. The spectacle of a half-nude, dripping Steerpike both repelled and delighted him. Every now and again, Steerpike and the doctor could hear an extraordinary moaning from the floor above. When, however, the doctor heard the cause of the boy's appearance, he was at once on the move. It had not taken Steerpike long to explain what had happened. Within a few moments, the doctor had packed up a small bag and rung for the cook to fetch both a stretcher and a couple of young men as bearers. Meanwhile, Steerpike had dived into another suit and run across to Miss Slag in the castle, whom he had instructed to replenish the fire to have Fuchsia's bed ready and some hot drink brewing, leaving her in a state of querulous collapse, which was not remedied by his tickling her rudely in the ribs as he skipped past her into the door. Coming into the quadrangle, he caught sight of the doctor as he was emerging from his garden gate with the two men and the stretcher. Prune Squalor was holding an umbrella over his bundle of rugs under which he had placed his medical bags. When he had caught them up, he gave them their directions, saying that he would run ahead, but would reappear on the escarpment to direct them to the final stage of their journey. Tucking one of the blankets under his cape, he disappeared into the thinning rain. As he ran on alone, he made jumps in the air. Life was amusing, so amusing. Even the rain had played into his hand and made the rock slippery. Everything, he thought to himself, can be of use. Everything. And he clicked his fingers as he ran grinning through the rain. When Fuchsia woke in her bed and saw the firelight flickering on the ceiling and Nanny Slag sitting beside her, she said, "Where is Steerpike?" "Who, my precious?" "Oh, my poor pretty one," said Miss Slag, fidgeted with Fuchsia's hand, which she had been holding for over an hour. "What is it you need, my only? What is it, my caution, dear? Oh, my poor heart, you've nearly killed me, dear. Very nearly. Yes, very nearly, then. There, stay still, and the doctor will be here again soon. Oh, my poor weak heart." The tears were streaming down her little old terrified face. "Nanny," said Fuchsia, "where's Steerpike?" "That horrid boy?" asked Nanny. "What about him, my precious? You don't want to see him, do you? Oh no, you don't want that boy. What is it, my only? Do you want to see him?" "Oh no," said Fuchsia. "I don't want to. I feel so tired." Are you there?" "What is it, my only?" Nothing. I wonder where he is." Steerpike is incapable of not causing problems, it seems. So that's it for now. So I'll be back on Wednesday. Hopefully I'll be in slightly better shape. I really hope my sleep schedule goes back to something more manageable. It was fairly manageable at the beginning of all of this, but in the past couple of months or so, it's been falling apart. Anyway, thank you for watching. Next stream on Wednesday. It's gonna stay like this for a while. I know I've mentioned this several times, but I will try to get the the real channel up and running, and I may actually need new headphones. I've noticed that it's been very quiet, and I honestly don't know what it is. I mean, I kind of want to borrow some maybe my roommate's headphones and see if it's this quiet, and maybe give these headphones a break. Anyway, again, thank you for watching, and I will see you Wednesday. Same time. Maybe a little bit earlier, like this time. Thank you for watching.